Hi guys, Fernandes Lembo on the grid. You know, John, last week's episode, we were sort of previewing the district games.
Yeah.
We had the district games.
We did.
Now looking back on them, these district games, not a lot of them were competitive.
Right.
You were at one that wasn't very competitive, Southeast 42-0 over Bayshore.
Yes.
Manatee beating Alonzo, blanking them, Charlotte over Ida Baker. It just goes to show that even though the district games are important, a lot of these districts are top-heavy where the games aren't really that competitive when you get right down to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare you find a district where everyone's kind of the same, everyone's bunched. It's usually, as you mentioned, 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 really good teams and everyone else trying to catch up. But, you know, there'll be better ones down the road.
Right. Talk about your game. I was at one, you were at one.
Right.
42-0 over Bayshore.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Southeast and Bayshore, obviously.
Right. I mean, Southeast, Alex Taylor, the quarterback, played really, really well. Got some great protection. He throws a great ball, and he's a big, tall kid. So I like what they did. And Bayshore's just struggling. Some really strange penalties.
Yeah. Talk about one play that
roughing the punt receiver. I mean, the kid was just breaking for the punt.
It wasn't even a timing, right? The ball was still up in the air,
and he just got
whacked.
hit. So a couple of head-scratching penalties, and but a big win for Southeast, and that district I think is very winnable. I think they have a shot. I mean, we haven't seen Herald-Tribune and DeSoto yet, but I think Southeast, they play like that. They got a lot of weapons. I think Rashad West doing a nice job. His first win as a head coach for Southeast. So a good start for the Seminoles and the Bruins. Again, they need a new coach again. They need to start starting from scratch almost, it seems.
Right. I was at the Hardy Booker game, which was the debut of Dumika Atkins as Booker head coach. And, you know, I've covered enough Booker games in the past where a lot of times they shot themselves with penalties and stupid plays. I will say this about the Tornadoes last week. Only had 4 penalties for like 32 total yards. They seem more disciplined. But when you get right down to it, John, discipline only takes you so far. If you're not going to have that push on the offensive line, and you're not going to protect your quarterback, which is what befell Booker. They lost 30-12 to Hardy. Brantley, the quarterback, Arthur Brantley, hurt his ankle again. Well, not again, but he hurt his shoulder in the first game of the season, hurt his ankle again. And one thing that's Booker's just giving away points. They do not have a kicker. I mean, I can't believe they don't have a soccer player out there who can kick an extra point. They are just blowing points, easy extra points. They had to go for 2 2-point conversions, didn't get it, hence the 12 points. I think Dumika is doing a good job with the discipline there, but then again, you need that offensive line to get that push and generate running room.
And like you said, I mean, you don't need Martin Gramatica, but you need someone to just put it through the uprights for a PAT. I mean, that can come back. I remember a couple of years ago, Palmetto in the playoffs missed 2 PATs and lost a game. So, you know, I mean, I think you take that for granted sometimes. You see a kid make them, but yeah, you're right. I mean, you don't have a kicker. That could be a trouble in high school football.
I mean, do you have any high school eligibility left? I know you'd be a straight-on kicker. You'd have one of those Mark Mosley square toes.
No, I'm all fresh out. Yeah, I'm all fresh out of eligibility.
Your eligibility?
None.
You'd be a good soccer guy.
I'd be all right.
You'd be kicking it through. But it's not that tough. I mean, just to kick an extra. I'm not talking about nailing Dumika about 40-yard field goals. It's a 20-yard, basically, extra point. And Booker is
and
really
like I said,
missing.
those close games, those 1 or 2 points, they'll come back and bite you.
Did any of these other games really indicate anything other than what we talked about earlier? Manatee, 44 points. Charlotte beating Ida Baker by 45
Well, that was my lock
points.
of the week, so I kind of knew that was coming, the Charlotte game.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what was a great game and a great comeback win, and it sets up their district game.
I know
was
where you're
Riverview.
going. Yes.
Riverview down to Steinbrenner. Maybe in years past, Todd Johnson's team doesn't come back, but they came back and a 1-point victory. And basically sets up the only district game on the schedule Friday night. Riverview at Palm Harbor, who's 0-2, 0-1 in the district. Nice job by Todd Johnson's team. None of us saw the game, but just a nice comeback effort on the road.
Yeah, well, they were home, I think, for that game.
It was
So great comeback win. Steinbrenner beat them last year, kind of knocked them out of the playoff picture. So yeah, I mean, a big step forward for the Rams, and like you said, they go and they win this week. They're 2-0 in district play, and that's that big gargantuan 7-team district where you play 6 straight district games. So yeah, definitely a good start district play for them. Obviously. I'm sure Riverview won't be overlooking this game because if they come back with a victory, it sets up the next month on the 14th, possibly at least for 4 teams, the biggest Friday night. You'd have Riverview playing Manatee, both undefeated. Then you'd have Braden River playing Venice, both undefeated in the district. So when we talk about a Friday night for 4 teams, great matchups. Little down the road, little
down the road,
ahead of ourselves, but yeah, that'd be pretty cool. It's a couple of really good local games with big implications. I mean, I think the Braden River Venice game is going to be huge because of where they are. They're both state ranked.
Right.
That could be like almost like a de facto regional final in that game. But yeah, I think that'd be great if we had a couple of big games of that in town with a couple of teams, fighting for possibly a district championship.
And another nice side story to Braden River. I did a story on Raymond Thomas coming back from ACL tear. Coming back in 10 months.
Right.
And this guy is averaging like almost 12 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Ripped off an 84-yard touchdown in the second game. It's just amazing. Obviously, his youngness contributes to the recovery probably. But just to come back in 10 months?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. You got to tip your hat to his work ethic. And also, too, I think Braden River was kind of smart. I don't think he played in the spring.
Right,
he might have practiced a little bit, but I don't think he played in the game. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully, knock on wood, he stays healthy. I mean, he's been given the okay for contact and everything. That was back in the summer. So, yeah, I mean, good on him to come back like that. And we'll see where it takes him and the team.
Yeah, Kurt Bradley says he was frustrated in the spring because maybe in his own mind he felt that he could have jumped out there, but the team did the smart thing, keeping him sidelined.
You're 17, 18 years old, and you
think you're Superman.
Right, especially if you don't feel any pain. Especially if I feel fine. Well,
right.
You're not fine.
You're not fine, yeah.
But that's when it's up to the coach is to kind of stand in front and say, hey, you're not playing. You'll thank us later. And I saw him have that big 84-yard run you mentioned.
Right.
And looked like he was ever even hurt.
Right.
So good on him for coming back.
Yeah, good on him. And what helped was that Kurt Bradley's dad, Phil Bradley,
I read that, yeah.
MLP, Major League Baseball Players Association, got him to see the trainer of the Pirates here during spring training. So all that contributed to probably
I remember watching Phil Bradley play. My dad and I had season tickets for the Yankees.
It shows you how old I am. Phil Bradley was the quarterback at my alma mater at Missouri.
Wow.
Which, again, shows you...
6 degrees of Phil Bradley.
6 degrees of Phil Bradley. We're both undefeated on the lock of the week, which this early in the season isn't saying that much.
Right.
But who's your lock of the week this week, and why?
Well, I'm going to stay in the Bradley mold. Braden River goes to Leesburg. I have not used them yet.
Right.
And I feel comfortable using them now because they have some harder games down the road. They get Venice, they get Palmetto, so... I'm going to use Braden River. I think they're a lock to go to Leesburg and win.
Now, I'm going to remind you that you already, later on in the year, if you try to squeeze in Braden River again, I will remind you that you've already used them.
You won't have to. I won't do it.
You won't do it?
Nope.
You're just such a nice, honest, sweet...
I'm arrogant, too. I don't have to cheat.
Everybody knows that.
Right.
Yeah, true. Well. My lock of the week, because you told me about the Bay Shore performance, I was going to go with this game anywhere, but this even solidifies my lock, is Palmetto.
Right.
Palmetto looked good against Sarasota. I think Marino, as a head coach, the team's going to be playing better as the season goes on.
Right.
Bay Shore's got problems. So my lock of the week this week is Palmetto. Don't like using them this early, but I feel like I must.
Well, with the way their defense is playing and Bay Shore's offense really scuffled, that's not a bad bet at all.
Right. Just final thoughts. We're at the midway point of the season or close to it.
Right.
Are things going the way you thought they would go, team-wise, strength-wise, everything else?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's hard. We're only, 4 or 5 weeks in, but yeah, I think so. But this is really is kind of the last, I don't want to say meaningless week, but it's kind of the last week of all these non-district games because from here on in, from next week on in, it gets really fun.
Right.
It gets to be 3 or 4 straight weeks of district, and we'll know in about 3 or 4 weeks who's going to November and who's staying home. And that's when it gets really, really fun. I'm
going to throw a shout out because I like the guy, Drew Lascari's Cougars. They won easily last week, I think 35-7. Seems like he's turning the program around over there at Cougar Land.
Yeah, it wasn't in terrible shape when he got there, but I think he's doing a pretty good job kind of building it in his own way.
Right, exactly. Anything else before we shove off?
I think we're all right.
All right, we got games coming up, but district games obviously far more enjoyable to cover and talk about.
Yep.
So we'll have an abundance of those coming up. So for John Lembo, I'm Doug Fernandes, and we'll see you next week on The Grid.